is a good morning right here on the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for taking your time to begin your day with us right here on Lookuptv. We are online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Today being Monday, I'll be joined by Keitany later on in the day as we crisscross the country and tell you what it is that is happening in terms of your current affairs. Indeed, a lot is happening across us. From this weekend's events, we see the Azimio leader is still holding a lot of rallies across the country, all the way from his utterances at the burial of the former CS Education, George Magoha. May his soul rest in peace. That plus many other things that we're going to focus on this morning, also including it is just a day to Valentine's, and you've heard exactly what the president, the deputy president are calling for. They're calling for national prayers to pray, number one, for an ailing economy, number two, for insecurity, and number three, for the rains to come. Well, it's a lot of issues to get through this morning, and that's why you should be looking forward all the way to your review this morning. But we shall be sitting with our analyst right here in the studio to make sense of what is happening. And hopefully you did see the communique from the Media Council of Kenya. Now, there's a developing story that we have here, and we're calling it Matiang'i versus the government. And the question that we're asking this morning is, who is fooling whom? Because if you look at the statements that we've seen from the security agencies in the country, also from the Interior Ministry, headed by Professor Kindiki, it's saying that we have no knowledge whatsoever of any police enforcement in the country going to Matiang'i's house. So all of those, and I'm saying all of those, as the media fraternity, will carry that story, purporting that indeed there was a raid at Matiang'i's house. The Media Council of Kenya went out and called out that particular report. And this is what they said. They're going to decide on exactly what to do based on the stories that were carried by various media houses in the country. Wow. That's a developing story, and we're going to delve straight into it this morning, plus many others that we're going to cover this morning, including your newspaper review, your news diary. We're going to tell you exactly what it is that we're going to feature for the entire of the day and the week. A lot to look forward to, indeed. Join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. For now, we take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then let's go straight to the newsroom, where we get to tell you some of the biggest stories that we are opening with this morning. Welcome back. Now, leaders in Turkana County have come out to condemn the killing that the residents of the region have been experiencing lately, led by Turkana South Member of Parliament Dr. John Moet. The leaders are calling on the national government to step in and save them. The latest attack has seen 3 people die and 7 others are injured.
The main intention of our neighbors, the Pokot militia, I tend to believe they are being sent by the politicians to expand their territory towards Turkana County. I want to say that for free. That's the main intention. The political insecurity we are experiencing in Turkana South is motivated by expansion of land, competition for resources. Your Excellency, William, please take our cry into consideration.
Kwa niaba ya wamama wengine katika Turkana South ama katika taifa la Kenya, sina amani na wala sina furaha kwa sababu askari wanaowawa kinyama. Tunapeana watoto walinde nchi. Wanawawa kama kinyama, wengine wanafuliwa nguo. Wanamuua na kufua nguo na kumwacha akiwa uchi. ni baba ya mtu, ni mume wa mtu. Ni mtu aliyepewa aweze kulinda taifa. Mimi kama mama sina raha.
Kwa hivyo sisi kama wafanyabiashara wa sehemu hii ya Turkana tunaomba rais wetu ambaye pia ni mtu ambaye anaelewa sehemu ya Turkana vizuri, anaelewa Pokot vizuri, anaelewa vile kwamba watu wa Turkana ni watu wa amani, ajaribu kusimamisha ile shida ambayo inafanyika sehemu hii ili sisi tuweze kuendelea na kazi yetu.
Manganya mbuzi karibu 800 hivi jana mchana. Karibu kwa alikuwa na mtoto kidogo, ameoa hata hiyo mtoto kidogo karibu makatujii ngapi 15. Manganya mtoto kwa mkononi ameoa.
Kama kweli wewe ni rais leo na wewe ulisema hayo maneno na ulienda records, you are in records, ukisema ya kwamba lazima utatuliza vita ambayo iko katikati yetu. Kama kweli ulisema sisi tujifunie kuwa wa Kenya, ni nini utatuambia leo?
Any character found on that road harboring intentions of destabilizing transport, movement of goods and people will have themselves to blame.
Moving on, residents of Mount Elgon in Bungoma County have been urged to ensure they maintain a good hygiene and stay in a clean environment in a bid to fight jiggers, which have continued to cause havoc in the region. Let's take a look.
With the drought menace ravaging through the country, counties in the northern region of the country continue to battle. Speaking after conducting a sensitization and cleaning exercise of those infected by the jigger menace, the Rotary Club of Bungoma Chair Cliff Batach, in conjunction with Red Cross, has insisted that the menace will only be done away with if residents maintain cleanliness.
Leo tumekuja ili kuosha miguu ama kukabiliana na shida ya funza. Tumeosha jamii ya Chiptia, wale ambao walikuwa wameshikwa na funza, alafu baadaye kuna wazee watatu ambao wanatoka katika hii jamii.
Bakach also noted that at least 40 students from Cheptia Primary School benefited from the exercise and can now fully focus on their studies.
Kule madao kwenye classrooms. Kwa hivyo baada ya kutibu wanafunzi pia ataenda kwa mazingira ambayo yako safi. Wazee wachache wamepewa old clothes ama nguo za zamani ambazo zitawasaidia katika maisha yao.
John Cheptai, on his part, narrated how hundreds of students in the area miss school due to the jigger menace, calling upon stakeholders to intervene in upgrading facilities in schools in the area.
Kwanza imeuliza watu wa Cheptia, Nairobi, Kesiro na kwenda hata mpaka na Londo huko chini. Na hii imeleta matatizo sana kwa wanafunzi wa shule na hata wazazi wengine. Inakuwa almost over 40% of their bodies inakuwa covered na funza. Na hii huwa ni kitu sio nzuri sana. Kwanza kwa watoto inafanya watoto hawezi kuconcentrate kwa masomo yao kwa darasa. Watu ya Rotary tumejaribu kusaidiana na wenzetu wengine kama CDS International in partnering with CDS Kenya wametusaidia sana kwa kujaribu kusaidia kuondoa hii mambo ya funza katika eneo ya Cheptai.
Rashid Kiptoch narrated how he lost his family due to the jigger menace, with the school principal at Cheptia Primary School insisting on the importance of cleanliness and renovation of existing facilities within schools in the region.
Ningependa pia kutoa wito ya kwamba iwapo itawezekana waweze kuboresha madarasa yetu ambayo ni ya vumbi, pia kutusaidia haswa katika shughuli zingine nyingi ambazo zinatuadhiri kama walimu pamoja na wanafunzi wa Cheptia. Pia ningependa kushukuru shirika la Rotary Club kwa kuweza kutufikia na kuweza kutufahamisha mambo mengi ambayo tunajua ya kwamba tukiungana na wao na tuwe kimoja tutaweza kupiga hatua mbele haswa katika masomo ya wanafunzi wetu.
President William Ruto has called on former President Uhuru Kenyatta to join hands with his Jubilee leaders who recently declared their support for the Kenya Kwanza government. The Kenya Kwanza leaders have castigated the move by Azimio to stage demonstrations across the country, terming it as divisive politics.
During an interdenomination church service in Nakuru County, the Kenya Kwanza government has condemned opposition Supremo Raila Odinga for trying to make President Ruto give in to his demands. The head of state has, however, appreciated the move by a section of Jubilee leaders who joined his faction and urged his former boss Uhuru Kenyatta to consider following their path.
Wale wanafikiria ya kwamba wanaweza kuturudisha nyuma na kutugawanya na kutufanya hostages ya mambo yao ya ukabila na mambo yao ya personality cult. I want to say, for the avoidance of doubt, that I will work with all leaders of the Republic of Kenya that have been elected together with me to serve the people of Kenya.
On his side, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has condemned efforts of dividing Nakuru residents by the previous regime and promised to continue enhancing the police unit for proper service delivery.
Sheria ambaye rais anasema tuunde ni ya kubadilisha uchumi wa Kenya, kila mtu aweke pesa mfukoni. Ni sheria ya kutengeneza amani katika Kenya. Na usijali hao watu wanajifanya wameshikwa. It is a very simple thing, you don't understand. These people are having hallucinations and nightmares. They cannot sleep because walitumia askari kuumiza watu. Sasa yeye akiona askari anakuwa na nightmare. Sasa wachana na hawa.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has also called on former President Uhuru Kenyatta to give his successor William Ruto time to serve Kenyans and revive the country's economy.
If it is an Inspector General, you do your job. When you transit, you allow the other Inspector General to do their job. You don't come back to the arena. So we are pleading and reminding those who have transited that the time now is for William Ruto. You transit and let William Ruto do his job.
The Council of Governors Chair Anne Waiguru has praised the national government for increasing county allocation funds and promised that the devolved units are ready to better their service to Kenyans.
We agreed on exactly how the revenue will be shared. We just did not finish calculating kwa sababu ile pesa sisi tulipoa ilikuwa mingi sana. Sasa tumengojea tuende tukahesabu ndio tujue vile itakuwa imedividiwa, lakini maneno ya kuagree between the national government and the county governments, which was agreed. Your Excellency, I thank you for putting the people of Kenya first.
It is a church service that brought together the Kenya Kwanza and Jubilee leaders, together with church leaders and worshippers in the county, with a solemn call of peace despite different political ideologies. Samedika, Lookuptv.
Azimio One Kenya Party leader Raila Amolo Odinga has accused President William Ruto of paralyzing the opposition through buying some of the Azimio members of parliament. As our reporter Shaka Kareria now reports, Odinga stated that the Azimio coalition will remain united despite the scheme by the government. Odinga spoke during a rally in Busia County after attending the burial of the late CS Education Magoha.
The Azimio Supremo Raila Odinga on Sunday spearheaded the Azimio anti-government rally in Busia County. The Azimio leader used the platform to send his message to his supporters as he accused President William Ruto of paralyzing the opposition by buying Azimio MPs.
Sasa wameingia kwa bunge. Wanaanza sasa kunadi wa bunge. Wamepelekwa kwa mnada. Wamepelekwa kwa mnada. Ati wewe unaitwa Ikulu. Atakwenda njoo Ikulu, ationgea juu ya mambo ya maendeleo. Mwende kenda kule hapo 50,000, 100,000. Anasema mimi nilienda kuongea mambo ya maendeleo ya constituency yangu. Bure. Uongo.
However, Odinga maintained that the Azimio coalition will remain strong and united as he fired a salvo at some Azimio MPs whom visited the President William Ruto at the State House last week.
Katiba mpya imeweka mamlaka ya kugawanya pesa ya maendeleo kwa mkono ya bunge. Bunge ni siku hizi inatengeneza bajeti. Sio rais, sio treasury kama zamani.
Hiyo sahau. Ile nataka kukuambia hivi na wabunge wako hapa. Ile kiti tulikuwa tumepatia mama anaitwa Sabina ati yawe whip ya Azimio, hiyo sasa kuisha. Na hawa wabunge wako na kazi kuhakikisha kwamba Sabina is not a whip kuanzia Tuesday ya Azimio.
The Azimio politicians maintain that they does not recognize William Ruto as the president, as they accused him of overtaxing Kenyans, whose livelihood have already been hit hard by the high cost of living.
Wamepora chakula yako, elimu ya mtoto wako, wamepora pesa yako ya matibabu, na bado wanaendelea kupora kila pande. Umeona kwa miezi 5 ile kazi kubwa wamefanya ni ya kujiondolea mashtaka ya wizi, ya uporaji, ukora wa aina yote.
Wanatumia kanisa kuja kutusi familia ya Kenyatta. Mbele ya madhabahu leo wametusi Mama Ngina, wanatusi Uhuru Kenyatta. Sisi leo nimesikia wanasema ati vengeance is not in their manifesto ya Kenya Kwanza.
Governor Simba Arati has been petitioned by a civil society organization to explain the state of pending bills to avert disruption of service delivery to the public. This amid an advisory from the Control of Budget Office to the governor to offset the bills from funds regularly allocated for the same. Civil society organization Juhudi Africa Bernard Nyamwaro claimed the county government stood to lose an insurance cover for its 33 vehicles owing to the non-remittance of the premiums.
Simba Arati to give an account on why he cannot pay all pending bills as directed by the Controller of Budget. 3, that he should advise Simba Arati to give an account of all ghost workers he identified in Kisii County Government. And remember that we asked the Senate to call Simba Arati to give light on the issues that he addressed. The 3, Simba Arati, Matiang'i and Raila, to ask Simba Arati to give an account of the status of insurance for 33 government vehicles which were cancelled by the APA insurance company.
Right, now let's move on to the next piece where our supermarket winners are feted. Now, it's a competition held by Keitany. Now, a competition dubbed Chota Kuchota, an initiative by Haitia's supermarket, has come to its final stage. It was yesterday, Sunday, in Kisumu County. Helena Tieno bagged a car in a competition that was thronged by other contestants. Atieno, who expressed her joy by thanking the Haitia's supermarket for the opportunity to take part in the competition. And according to Haitia's supermarket lead operations manager, Frederick Ochiang, the supermarket is now looking forward to expand to other regions with a quality customer service being the store's main agenda.
Wenye tuko hapa tuko wengi na lazima tuwe na heshima, si ndio? Haya, njoo mami kidogo. Ile mambo ya kusema mama kai kwa keti lake.
Nilitoka hapa nikipita nikienda Kibuye, niliona kama watu wamejaa hapa, lakini sikujua kitu itatokea mzuri. Lakini narudishia Mungu asante. Juu hizi zote Mungu ndiye amefanya. Mimi siwezi fanya, mimi ni binadamu tu. lakini si kwa uwezo wa Mungu singepata hii kitu yenye nimepata hapa leo. Narudisha shukrani kwa watu wa Keitany. Narudisha shukrani sana.
It was like a shock to me. I was just called after lunch and it was a real shock. So I want to appreciate Keitany supermarket. I want to appreciate the employees, and all that I may say to everybody is that it is a real thing.
Every time I come here to soap, I've been feeling those vouchers. Though I was not aware I can be a winner, but today I'm sure and I've proved it is true and fair.
Wengi wanasema tayari msajwa mshindi, lakini ni hakika kwamba na nimefurahia sababu mshindi amechaguliwa na mtu wa Kisumu ambaye alikuja akachagua. Sio sisi watu wa Keitany tunajua mshindi alikuwa nani. Na hivyo ndio tulikuwa tunafanya kila mahali, na nimefurahia ile tumefanya kwa upole, hakuna kitu imetokea vibaya, na tulikuwa na serikali ambayo wamesimamia watu wa betting control kuconfirm kwamba ambaye tuliandika pale kitu ambaye tuliomba kuja kufanya imefanyika kwa njia ya haki na njia ya ukweli.
Right, let's turn the page and look at the sports this morning. All right, let's cross over to the story by Omanyala. Yes. Now, African fastest man Ferdinand Omanyala clocked 6.61 seconds to win the first heat before storming to victory in the final, timing 6.56 seconds, once again beating other Cisse from Côte d'Ivoire to second place by 0.1 seconds. The race was held in Paris yesterday. Omanyala now is preparing for another race that he will be competing in France on Wednesday. After Wednesday's competition, Omanyala will return to Kenya to prepare for the Athletic Kenya competition. Moving on, KCB RFC ran riot against Menengai Oilers, hammering the Nakuru-based side 62-15 in a Kenya Cup duel at the Nakuru Showground. The Bankers have extended their win in the current 2022-2023 Kenya Cup season to 9 wins out of 9 games played, and today's victory, that was yesterday's victory, and a bonus point. Festus Shihasi, making his debut for the first team, showed his class after the break, getting a brace before Alpha's Adunga, Brian Wahinya, and a former Shujaa captain Andrew Omonde, cementing KCB's win to 62-10. Geoffrey Ominde pulled one try for his team at the death to make it a 62-15, with the home fans in jubilation following his artistic move.
Came here knowing our work was cut out, given our last meeting with them in the 15th, we lost back at home last year. So we were approaching them cautiously, but we also knew what we had. So we gave our all and ended up staying on top of the game. We're not yet there. We still have a lot of work to do. We're looking at going the whole way, as we said, as we spoke earlier in the season, but we take a game at a time. Oilers in particular was an interesting assignment because we needed to balance the account with them. So there's a lot of talk outside the field, but the game is played in the field. So for us, it's a big win. It gives us the motivation, a shot in the arm for us as we move forward.
The game was easy for us. It was a revenge game. We had lost last year to Oilers, so today it was to prove a point. We actually wanted to make a very big point today that we are going for the title, and the title we actually need it. We'll just have to focus on our training on Tuesday, make sure all the basics are perfect. The mistakes that were done today, we weren't actually very perfect, but we're going to work on it on the whole week before the actually big game on Saturday, and we're going to make sure everything is really good. I don't want to be so overconfident. There are 2 games to go, very huge games. We are going to actually make sure we actually do our best to make sure we have the title.
That story marks the end of our morning drift bulletin this morning. But remember, some of these stories, by the way, are going to take center stage in a conversation this morning. Of note, Ruto's move for absolute power, Raila Amolo Odinga's continued rallies across the country, and the big conversation. Was it a hoax? The Matiang'i purported raid. Anyway, we come back with Ian Keitany. We're telling you exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning in terms of your newspapers. For now, we take a tiny breather. Guess what? You can join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. The hashtag is Morning Drift.
Ni shule imechukua ni miaka 9 tu sasa hii shule ikianzwa, na nimebarikiwa niko na wanafunzi 423 na walimu 8 wa serikali.
Kama Lotto Foundation tumekuja hapa kuhakikisha kwamba tunawapa wanafunzi wa kambi nyasi tabasamu. Tumekuja na chakula, tumekuja pia kuwawezesha ili waweze pia kupanda miti, kwa sababu shida ambayo iko hapa ni kwamba miti zilikatwa, kwa hivyo hali ya anga si sawa.
Jina langu ni mwalimu James Amdany, ni mwalimu mkuu. Nashukuru sana Lotto Company kwa kututembelea kwa adhuria leo. Tunashukuru sana na karibu tena kwa chambo kama hili. Mmetuletea chakula kwa watoto, mmetuletea miti ya kubanda.
Wewe ndio umewezesha hii, asante sana. Together we are changing lives.
Revival Sanctuary School is open for 2023 admission. We offer CBC classes from playgroup, PP1, PP2, grade 1 to 6, and the 844 curriculum from standard 7 to 8. Do not miss out the opportunity. Create the best future for your child today. Revival Sanctuary School prepares and strive to excel. Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution, or a university, and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158, or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Welcome back. In case you're joining us, this is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Looking forward or building forward to our big conversation this morning, touching on the level of security in the country, the political games in the country, and the state of the nation, even touching on matters hunger. Just on that, Keitany, good morning.
Very good morning to you, Simba. It's pretty cold here in the capital, Nairobi. But besides being cold, I mean, a lot happened over the weekend. A lot will continue happening. Of course, today and in the course of the week.
Yes.
And we'll be taking count all that happened. And of course, in the dailies. But you know where I'm headed, man.
Yes. Here's the thing, though. Your president, our president. Let me make that mistake. Our president, yeah, a man who's been called quote-unquote Nabi, is calling you tomorrow to go to the Nyayo Stadium, Keitany, so you could pray for the rains. And not just that, by the way, pray for the rains, pray for insecurity, and pray for the economy. Keitany, I know you had plans tomorrow for Valentine's, but now your president is calling you to go to Nyayo Stadium and pray. What time? What time does he want us to go do that?
Okay, Simba, in the first place, I didn't have any plans for Valentine's Day. I was planning
So which one is bigger? Is it the men's conference we're supposed to attend tomorrow? By the way, the entire day, it's starting tonight and ending on Monday next week, or the prayers? Which one should we give more weight to?
You've clearly said they call him Nabi. Nowadays they actually call him.
Nabi is not official. By the way, I'm not saying
not official. It's not official, of course. It's what netizens call him.
Yeah.
There's another one, Zakayo Mtoza Ushuru, but.
Wait. Which one is that?
Zakayo Mtoza Ushuru. They call him Zakayo Mtoza Ushuru.
We're gonna pay tax. We're gonna pay tax, though. Yeah. We're gonna pay it. All right. Your reaction to that? Which one is heavier? Do we go to the men's conference, which is starting tomorrow? By the way, runs for the next 10 days. Or do we go to the prayers tomorrow? For very important reasons. Number one, pray for security, pray for the rains, and pray for the economy.
Now, let's get our facts right.
Okay.
I'm not saying that prayers do not move mountains, but seriously, Simba, seriously. We cannot say we're going to pray for security, for the economy, for drought. The Bible clearly states, I'm not trying to preach, but the Bible says faith without actions
is dead. Which Bible verse is that?
You want to put me on the spot?
No, but you're quoting a Bible.
Okay, let me tell you.
Yeah.
You see,
Keitany, is that you not knowing where that verse is coming from?
I have to admit, I don't know where exactly in the Bible, but I feel like
James. Wait. Which one? James 2. James 2. Is that? James 2:26. Thank you very much.
That's our super director coming to my rescue. But taking into account everything that is happening in the country, it's really I don't think it's the right thing, because the government needs to come out clean and address the issues at hand. We cannot say we are setting aside a day to come and pray for drought, for the economy. I mean, first of all, Simba, this is a working day.
Yes.
This is the day that people are going to work. Just because it's Valentine's Day doesn't mean that people are free or something. So the government needs to come in with measures to ensure that we can do away with this issue. And something that really pisses me off is the issue of drought. We talk about drought year in, year out. This is something that we can practically solve, Simba. And the problem is, when we think we want to solve this problem through, we are constructing dams.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we end up using the money that was meant to do these dams.
Yeah.
I don't know, mismanagement of funds, Simba. Leaders do run away with this money. We have cartels. It's not that the government does not know.
Yeah.
We've had the president saying, and of course, through the Ministry of Water, that is Cabinet Secretary Ali Sohome saying they want to construct over 100 dams in the country. Now, that's not the problem. You can say you want to construct. Will you construct?
Would you construct, isn't it?
That is the biggest question. It's not about just saying. It's about walking the talk.
It's about exactly what you're going to do
to
make sure that it's actually put into action. Okay, so declare here, personally, publicly, Keitany, where are you going? Are you attending Valentine's? Are you attending the men's conference that's going to run for 10 days as from tomorrow? Actually, if you're free, you can actually even start attending it today because we're pulling it in. Or are you going to go for the prayers?
I'm just one of the organizers for the men's conference, so I'll definitely be attending the men's conference. I'm not going to Nyayo National Stadium. Neither am I going on a Valentine's Day. So there you go.
Okay, so it's going to be a men's conference.
Of course.
All right, that's how it is. All right, at this particular time, then let's jump straight into how your newspapers look this morning. I don't have the standard, Keitany. I would like us to jump straight into what you have right there on the Daily Nation. Then after that, we get to really look at exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning. By the way, remember, online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. And again, the hashtag is The Morning Drift. All right, let's jump into it, Keitany.
Now, there are like 4 different stories on the front page of The Nation, but I want to check one big thing. It's about, the headline reads, auctioned. Now, it says, COVID-19 pandemic wreaked unprecedented havoc on many individuals and businesses. Now, so of course, we know tough times, and Simba, 1,062 companies closed down between July of 2022 to, of course, December of the same year. That is a very short period of time, but 1,062 companies. And of course, they go ahead to say tough times. More and more Kenyans are losing their valued assets, vehicles, pieces of land, household goods as landlords, banks, SACCOs, Shylocks, and of course online lenders go for them for defaulting on loans and payments. The high cost of living highlighted by the runaway inflation is not making life any better for borrowers, and for many Kenyans, it is a matter of when, not if, the auctioneers will come knocking. Simba, 1,062 companies. We all know, the havoc that the COVID-19 pandemic caused, not only in Kenya, but worldwide. But ever since, it's been about how can we bounce back after the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's been a struggle for many businessmen and women in the country. Yeah. By the way, on page 7, you can look at, that story on page 7. There are even, men and women of God. There's a pastor here who apparently, a car that, members of the church had, donated to her was auctioned because she failed to pay a bank loan of 50,000 shillings.
Hold on, the church members that donated the car.
Yes.
And when she couldn't pay 50,000.
Yes, she decided during the COVID-19 pandemic, she decided that she'll, use the vehicle
as security
for taxi services.
Okay.
So that she could generate money.
Okay.
But, it didn't bear any fruit per se.
Yeah.
So she decided she'll go, for a bank loan.
Yeah.
And then, use the car as, how do we call it?
As security.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, she failed to pay the 50,000.
The bank came for the car.
They came for the car. And there are many, many people out here. Every day you see stories of, SACCOs, be it banks, be it even the Kenya Women Finance Trust, many SACCOs and Shylocks coming for, household goods, coming for, pieces of lands. They come for your title deeds because you've defaulted on paying your loan.
Yeah.
Now, can we attribute that to the high cost of living, or what can we really attribute that to, Simba?
It's when you look at what has been happening since 2020 up to where we are right now, Keitany, the thing that I do not really like about the way that we run our economy is that the numbers that we really do not have. Now, these are the numbers that we know. 150,000 youth do graduate out of universities in the job market in the country. Question is, does the economy create 150,000 jobs annually? Now, if you look at the latest report that the KNBS did in terms of understanding where the economy is, and that was the 2022 report in terms of where we stand as a country, in terms of a GDP, there's one thing that came out. Employment in the country minus, there's something that's going to stand out for you, minus the agriculture sector. So we do know that the agriculture sector in the country is the one that is contributing the biggest numbers in terms of GDP and employment. But the government does not know who is employed in that sector, how they're employed, what they make, or what they're not making, essentially. So when you have a bigger sector like agriculture in the country then contributing towards a GDP to the numbers that it is, and then you have no exact numbers on it, that's when we do not really have the exact figure. But that said, when auctioneers come knocking on the door, when we have stories of 1,062 companies between July 2022 and December 2022 closing, it's not a new story. It's something that has been happening in the economy post-2020. So maybe we're going to wait for the GDP figures again this year, see exactly what 2022 was really for us before then we get to put the story into perspective. But telltale signs, I'll tell you that.
That's it. That's from our senior business and of course, reporter.
And that story is on page 7 of the Daily Nation, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, away from that, Simba, one other thing, and interestingly, we've talked about the president calling on Kenyans to turn up for prayers at the Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi tomorrow. And one of the things that you mentioned was, pray about matters in security. Now, on the headline of one of the stories on the front page of the Daily Nation is that the number of police officers who've been killed by bandits in Turkana has, risen to 4. We've seen, attacks and shootouts between the police and these bandits over the weekend, on Saturday, and of course yesterday on Sunday.
Yeah.
And now 4 police officers have been killed. The Kainuk area in Turkana County, Simba, this is an area where even public service, not only public service vehicles, even private vehicles, they resorted to parking. The drivers resorted to parking their vehicles because On, was it, I think on Friday,
yeah.
There was a public service vehicle, a matatu, that was headed to Turkana, I believe, through the Kainuk Road. I think the bandits flanked down the driver, but he failed to stop the vehicle, and they started shooting, and apparently people lost their lives in that particular matatu because when they shoot, they just shoot freely.
Yeah, indiscriminately.
And interestingly, yesterday during the interdenominational prayers of Thanksgiving, or whatever they call it, in Nakuru, of course attended by the President and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the former Rift Valley Regional Commander, that is the current Trans Nzoia Governor, Mr. Natembeya, was very, very brutal in terms of whatever he said, because he said a lot is happening in the Rift Valley region in terms or in matters of banditry that is not said, because he said officers go to the extent of exchanging bullets for food now because they lack. This is an example that he used. He said you'll find officers giving these bandits bullets for them to get maybe a goat in return, for them to get something to eat. Secondly, he also said that the same officer who's in Turkana, who's fighting banditry in Turkana, gets the same amount of pay as an officer who is stationed here in Nairobi. There's no allowance.
Hardship allowance, isn't it, because of exactly where you're working?
And it's really, really interesting because it comes at a time when President Ruto, of course, selected a task force led by the former Chief Justice David Maraga to, of course, look into matters of police reforms. I wonder if this is one of the things that they will consider, because it is absurd, Simba, that a police officer who's fighting banditry in that region does not get the hardship allowance that he deserves. They do not even get food, to the point of, trading bullets for food, like Natembeya attributed. And of course, this is someone who's been the Rift Valley Regional Commander for 3 years and is known for his ruthlessness in fighting these bandits. So it is really upsetting. And then the President, of course, said that the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, that is Mr. Professor Kithure Kindiki, the former Tharaka Nithi Senator, will pitch tent in the region until sanity is restored. And again, people and leaders led by Cabinet Secretary for Transport, that is Kipchumba Murkomen, the likes of Timothy Toroitich of Marakwet, a member of Parliament from Marakwet, they're saying the government should deploy GSU. And again, Natembeya said President Kenyatta at some point deployed GSU to that region, but it did not solve the problem. So what do we need to do to address this issue? Because it has become a thorn in the flesh, Simba.
Yes.
I really don't know.
I'll tell you that, man. It's a developing story, by the way, and we shall keep on reporting around this. And I'll be assuring you that once we get into a newsroom diary, and Keitany would actually confirm that this is one of the stories that have taken center stage in our newsroom. Quickly, Keitany, do you have any other story that is of note before then we cross over to the Standard?
There's one interesting story, there's of course William Ruto, and of course him defending, quoting rival MPs, because we've seen MPs from the ODM party meeting him in State House, and he's been castigated for trying to kill the opposition. But he says he's trying to unify the country. But aside from that, there's a story on page 6, and it says cash crunch to hurt the bottom-up plan execution, Ruto warned. Now, according to the Parliamentary Budget Office in the country, to implement the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, it would cost a whopping 2.67 trillion to implement.
Yeah, and that comes on the side of the president also saying that we need to cut down on our expenditure. Unless now, then it will say that let's go hard on collecting taxes. Again, for an economy that is closing companies, Keitany, can't you see if 1,062 companies have closed since July 2022 to date, then where is that tax going to come from? The employment, where is it going to come from so that you can get actually these taxes? A hard nut to crack when you look at it from an economic perspective. If it's got 2.2 something and your budget is 3.6 trillion, when almost half of that is going into recurrent expenditure, all right? And then maybe a quarter of that paying your debt, so you're left with what? 800 billion to develop the economy? Could be 800, 500 billion thereof. So where is the rest of the money going to come from? Again, you want to cut it down again to by 300 billion. So you have what? 200 billion Where is it going to come from?
Tough times.
You see the announcement that they did put across that no new roads or bigger infrastructural projects are going to be built in the country unless the ones that are already underway are done. So no more opportunities for expanding the economy in that direction. Our economy is essentially based on expenditure. When the government spends, the economy grows. So when you want to cut it down by 300 billion, then someone will ask you, where is the rest of the money going to come from? But he's quite silent on his delivery, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, he's already in office, Keitany. We got to say that because we saw what the 100 days essentially in office were like. Look at his cabinet. It's not essentially what he promised, but you can actually see now what is it called? The chickens are coming back home? Is that the phrase? I just forgot the phrase now. But the reality now, you're running a government that is essentially down economically. If you don't have a proper plan, or the plan that you had is going to be put to taste. Now people are telling you that, by the way, if you look at the Parliamentary Budget Committee, it's essentially a majority Kenya Kwanza government, all right? Even the chair is from the Kenya Kwanza government. So that's the one who's telling you, that's actually Ndini Nyoro who's telling you, bro, hapa ngumu. Yeah, but it's quite silent on it, isn't it?
Things have beaten each other.
Yeah, things are biting each other. Anyway, Keitany, let's move on to the Standard if we can this morning, isn't it? All right, good. A couple of headlines for me. We're not going to touch on exactly what it is that we've touched on. The bigger headline here on the Standard is Ruto on path to absolute power. Whether you like it or not, Keitany, this is exactly how it reads. President William Ruto's plan to control Parliament is evident with the moves to co-opt members from the opposition, with the House resuming tomorrow, and now, today, by the way, officially, with a supermajority, it will be a walk in the park for the president on passing legislation and blocking oversight. This is what you cannot run away from. Because we did know what he was plotting for. Now we can actually get to see the clearer picture of whatever it is that the president was moving out for. Make sure that you do have majority control. A thing that actually started way back when we realized that some of the parties that were actually running outside Kenya Kwanza coalition were actually affiliates of Kenya Kwanza as well. So you can actually see that in as much as the Daily Nation has him saying, well, he's actually just pushing for unity within the country. Two ways about it, and we're going to talk about this morning with our political analysts in the studio this morning, just to weigh in on this. Is it moving towards absolute power? And how has the ground changed since the Jubilee members defected back to his coalition? We're going to talk about that this morning. Keitany, I don't know what you weigh in. Is it unity in the country or absolute power?
It's difficult to, really understand where all this is headed to. Yeah. Because, you see, in as much as those MPs met the president of state of Nairobi, they clearly came out to say it was all development. It was about discussing issues of development for their constituents. But, in as much as they were in State House, they still pledged allegiance to the Azimio and Kenya. Yeah. So I don't really think, even if it's a plot to, get to absolute power, I don't really think it will work, because at the end of the day, the MPs, they've come out to say clearly they will support the Azimio side in matters, their stance in various bills in Parliament and of course all that. And we saw even Jalango attending the Azimio rally, and not rally per se, but the retreat in Athi River on Thursday. Of course, ahead of the rally that happened on Friday. And of course, he was ejected, but again, he went back. So I don't think it is not a move really to, get to absolute power, but it's, in other way as well, trying to just weaken the opposition. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a lot to talk about that, and we're going to get into that conversation this morning. Keitany, that's essentially what it is. There's also a story about paying of bills and high taxes. We've already spoken about it. Pending bills in the national government are now 603 billion. That's almost $1 trillion. Wow. That this government has to contend with. Now, I've got to pick your sentiments on a story here, Keitany, and we know we spoke about it. This is what the Arsenal manager did say. That's Arteta, in just 2 minutes if you can. That referees are changing EPL rules. Another controversial weekend, Keitany, from the EPL. As a sports guy right here on the Lookuptv. Is that the best headline? Not indeed. Yeah, it's back to a lot of interpretation, you might say. But is Arteta calling it the way it is? That the referees themselves are now changing the rules. Is that what it is?
Before I weigh in on that, just for the viewer, we all know Simba is an Arsenal fan. Just over the weekend, results from a few games would do. Arsenal drew 1-1 with Brentford. Chelsea drew 1-1 with West Ham. Of course, Manchester City won 3-1 at Aston Villa. Brighton drew 1-1 at Crystal Palace. And of course, the mighty Manchester United won 2-0 at rival Leeds.
Yeah, I knew you would say that.
You'd understand why Mikel Arteta and of course Simba Kiage, and of course one of the camera persons here, Jeremy, are complaining is that Arsenal dropped points yet again. They've dropped 5 points in the last 2 game weeks. But in as much as I'm a United fan, and of course banter is banter, it doesn't matter whether there were errors or not. But on matters officiating, I feel like the officiating in the English Premier League, it has been awful for some time.
It is pathetic.
It has been awful.
Pathetic.
And we need to, this is something that needs to be addressed, because week in, week out, when a mistake is made this week, you expect it to be amended next week.
Yeah.
But instead of it being amended, more errors are being made.
I'm telling you, man.
For you to have a lot of time to, for example, the game again, between Arsenal and of course Brentford and of course Crystal Palace and Brighton and Hove Albion, for you to spend a minimum of 3 minutes just trying to check if a goal stands or not.
And then you get it wrong.
And then you get it wrong and come out again and say it's human error. It's really, really embarrassing. But like I said, and I'll still say this again, I said this 3 weeks ago, I said it last week, I'm saying it again, Arsenal are not winning the Premier League. Get it right for me. You can bank your money on that.
I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, we take a tiny breather right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, we do have Anita Kirbote and also Esperance Okoth are going to join us shortly. Issues that we're looking into, really. Number one, is Ruto moving towards absolute power in the country? Number two, who is fooling whom? When Matiang'i says that there was an attempt to raid his house, what does it mean? Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university, and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv